Yo, what's going on, guys? Jay here, and today we are finally reviewing Offset's new album, Set It Off. Offset, of course, one third of the Migos' infamous trap trio. Now, infamous might be a bad word, but they absolutely ran the late 2010s in terms of popularity, in terms of getting hits. They were very influential. I could say a lot of things about the Migos. They are amazing. They are important. They are overrated for sure a little bit, but there is no downplaying the influence they had on the modern trap soundscape. For Offset, this is his first record in 4 years. He dropped Father of Four in 2019. That was in January, February, early of the year too. It's been a while. It's impressive that Offset managed to sell about 60K first week with this album, considering he has been pretty absent from the, mainstream spotlight for a while, let's be honest. Set It Off was a solid return to the mainstream for Offset. For a 21-song trap album, it is surprising that there's no real misses on this album. There's no terrible songs. There's definitely songs that I would skip, songs I don't revisit, songs that I think are forgettable, but none that are inherently bad. Although I also will say there's no songs other than Say My Grace with Travis Scott that are real standout, incredible songs. Now, I don't think this is a bad thing. I think it's a testament to Offset's consistency, which he displays on this album. Like I said, this album, there's not a lot of misses. It is straightforward, straight through. You're getting quality. The same could be said for Father of Four, his previous album. Offset's feature game has always been consistent, has always been one of the best features you could get. So I can't say I'm surprised. Not to mention the consistency in the mood and atmosphere throughout this album. I feel like Offset and the team of producers he worked with for this album did a great job building a cohesive, moody soundscape for Offset to play with. And the way that a lot of these beats evolve and change throughout them, as well as the intensity that Offset brings to some of these tracks, make it feel very cinematic. And I do appreciate that about Set It Off. This is one of the most cinematic and dramatic trap albums we've had in a while. There's clearly a lot of thought and effort that went into this. Kind of like what I've said about albums in the past, where there's a lot of intentionality in a lot of the production and a lot of the sample choice. At least it seems. I'm not going to say the sequencing here is anything crazy. I don't think there's any crazy song transitions. I feel like the best features are top loaded at the front and it kind of scatters throughout, as you would expect, right? You want the songs that should stream the best at the front. The only type of inconsistency with this album is the narrative, and I feel like that plays to his favor because for a lot of this album, Offset is flexing his ass off like you'd expect. A lot of the features flexing their ass off like you'd expect. That's kind of what's done in the trap scene. But I will say there is a lot of personal writing from Offset here. It's not all boasts and brags and wealth and riches. Offset is very introspective at points at this album, and we do see him struggling and contemplating with the fame at different points on this album. I feel like there is, and not really a narrative, but there is a loose content, loose theming here where we do see Offset's, he's flexing his ass off a lot, but we do get songs like here on Say My Grace with Travis Scott, which is one of the best written Offset songs ever, where Offset is clearly, like the title says, he is very appreciative and he is showing thanks for everything he has. He's reflecting on a lot of what he's lost to get to the position where he's at, and he is grateful to be where he's at and to be in the position he's in his life. And we also see at other points on the album where he is questioning the fame, if it was all worth it, losing everything he had to give up, like his brother Takeoff, if stuff like that was worth it to get to the point where he's at. So there is a very loose theming in this album of Offset dealing with the wealth and success and how it's affected him. And again, it's not a straightforward narrative. Not every song is talking about it, but those themes are consistently present here, even if it is a little few and far in between. I just mentioned Say My Grace like twice, so there couldn't be a better song to start with. I said this before, but this is the best song here. The snippet for this song when it released was going crazy. And this is a genuine contender for a banger of the year. Like, honestly, one of the best trap songs to come out all year. We get very cinematic, grandiose, and progressive instrumental from producer Vinyls. This is also one of the best instrumentals on the album. I love the energy it has. We get a passionate set verse where Offset is, like I said, being appreciative of everything he has and taking stock of all his riches. And on the chorus as well, he absolutely snaps. This is one of the most catchy choruses all year. It immediately not only gets stuck in your head, but it gets you going, it gets you amped up. And like the title insists, this is where we see Offset saying his grace. Travis gives a great fast-paced verse where he's, of course, flexing where he's of course flexing nuts on everybody, talking about all the money he's got and all the cars he's got. He don't even got enough room in his garage. And this was a great Travis Scott feature verse. I love the way the instrumental, it's more spacey, like, because there's no beat switch on this song, but the instrumental progresses and changes. It gets more spacey and more atmospheric. You see the instruments changing pitches and certain ones entering the fray, certain ones being turned off for the time being. And I appreciate that about not just this song, but the whole album. I feel like a lot of instrumentals are progressive and change throughout the song. And again, that adds to the cinematic value that I was talking about with this record. The strong, moody atmosphere that carries throughout this album is one of the biggest highlights. And there are certain songs on this album that help set that pace, set that tone, especially the intro, On the River. On the River is a dark and heavy track with some southern influence on the instrumental. Offset's flows here are pristine, and he immediately puts you into the zone you need to be in for this record, perfectly foiling this melancholy trap instrumental. Fan was the second single Offset released for this album, another track with a very cinematic, very dramatic build. I love the intensity on this instrumental and the vocal samples. This is another track where we're getting some great and more vulnerable writing from Offset. A song that is definitely held back by the runtime. The song I don't think is much longer than 2 minutes, if it even is. Fan definitely could have benefited from having another minute or two, because you get a great build, you get a great outro, and you really just get one verse, and the verse is fine, but the build up for it, the payoff is just not quite there, as much as I do enjoy this track. And we get personal content from Offset here, where he's opening up about getting out of jail and signing a contract that he didn't even know what he was signing. He was just so thrilled to be out of jail and to be getting this opportunity. Again, being appreciative of the position he's in while also reflecting on his journey there. And again, this song carries that heavy, dark, gloomy aesthetic that Set It Off has. And the outro does a good job tying up a lot of the loose ends on this album in terms of the content matter. The outro, which first of all, I've said this about other albums in the past, the outro to Set It Off, in my opinion, is the final 3-track run of Blame It On Set, Upside Down, and Healthy. Let me explain why. Blame It On Set, of course, is a very fast-paced, very high-energy banger type track where Offset is rapping his ass off about beating the odds and getting to the top. He is solidifying his place there. He is proud. He is on top of the fucking throne, and he is sitting there with some pride, right? Now, the following track, Upside Down, I always viewed as more of like a more interlude type track. It's less than 2 minutes. It's very like kind of slow. There's no real energy, no real build, but we do get, again, some very vulnerable Offset bars. And here the whole track is kind of a inverse of Blame It On Set. The name Upside Down almost makes sense in that way, because where this is a complete opposite sonically, like I said, far more slowed down, very lighthearted. Offset's rapping very slowly. And also in terms of content matter, the theming hasn't changed. The song is still about Offset being rich as fuck, being at the top. But this is about him being lonely at the top. This song focuses on the downsides that come with his wealth and with his fame, and he is touching on those on that song. And when we go on to the actual outro track, Healthy, it kind of brings together these two conflicting mindsets that Offset is fighting between throughout the album, where he becomes content with his fame, with his success, realizing that it won't make him happy. And this is I guess a big realization for Offset, because again, like I said, he's flexing nuts this whole album, right? And we see the moments of weakness where he's struggling with flexing nuts. And you realize, of course, he's flexing nuts as an attempt to cover up, heal up the pain. And here's kind of accepting the fact that he could be the biggest artist in the world, he could be the richest man in the world, and it's still problems that he's not going to be able to solve with the money. He's not going to be able to hide behind his Instagram followers. And it's a powerful realization for him to come to. The cinematic sequencing on those final 3 tracks work as a perfect closure to the internal conflict that Offset is dealing with throughout the runtime of this album. This does kind of wrap up the content portion of the review, because other than those couple of songs, I don't want to say other than those couple of songs, but those are the main songs that I think are focused on the narrative of this album or of the theming of this album. And then, of course, on other songs, I'll mention the content. I'll mention that because it does still come up. It's not like it's only those songs, but those are the main ones that kind of set the tone for the album and also relate to the subject matter that Offset is bringing to the table on Set It Off. Moving on to a fan favorite track like Night Vision. Night Vision has a super memorable chorus that gets stuck in your head and a low-key but fast-paced instrumental. I feel like there are a couple songs here, like I'm On One, where Offset is thriving in this super low-key but fast-paced instrumental, almost what I would call a Young Thug styled instrumental. Any fast tempo beat that has hi-hats in the back and kind of just planes across where there's not that much development, that is a Young Thug to me. That reminds me a lot of Metro Spider's instrumental, and I feel like there are some instances here where you see that. Not that that's a bad thing, of course. There are tracks on here produced by Metro that I'm talking about, but I do think these more low-key tracks are some of Offset's solo highlights. You also got Hop Out the Van, which is a very interesting Offset track, because I feel like we see Offset experimenting with like 2016 Birds in the Trap, Travis Scott aesthetics. There's definitely Travis Scott influence on this song, and he does it well. And I say Birds in the Trap because of this almost annoyingly high-pitched level of auto-tune that Set is using on the chorus. You got, again, this very dark but alarming instrumental, and you also have Offset moaning in the background throughout some of the verses with some auto-tune and reverb. Now that is a Travis Scott staple, of course. That dude loves moaning on his songs. So it's cool to see Offset doing that too. Also, my watch, again, another low-key banger, another memorable chorus from Set. And obviously Set brought in some features besides Travis, but I do really like how this album isn't filled to the top with features. It is not overdone at all. And I think it makes, A, the songs with features feel more important, hit harder, and B, helps this album feel like a real Offset album, because anytime an album comes out with a bunch of features and it's all the same rappers, it really does feel just like an industry rap album, like Mansion Music by Trippie Redd or It's Only Me by Lil Baby. Those felt like very generic, cookie cutter, like almost albums made by the label. Like the label was saying what to make, they had their hand in there. They felt like trying to appease the masses, the industry album, the ideal industry album. This is not that. And I think it also gave Offset a lot of time to shine solo here. Some of my favorite tracks here are ones where it is just him. And there are points where I feel like a feature could have been used, but I also feel like instead of adding more features, that problem could have been solved by taking out shorter or more inconsequential tracks and giving more runtime and more development to songs like Fan or to songs like Upside Down that are pretty great songs but don't have the time they need to reach their full potential. But anyways, we gotta talk about the team that Offset brought through for the features. On Fine as Hell, you got Latto. She gave a pretty fucking great verse. I like this song, but I don't love it because it is pretty generic. We also got Worth with Don Toliver. This is honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna get hate for this or not, but I don't care for this song. I don't really like it. I think this is one of the worst songs on the album. It has the same like generic club attempt, but also could be in a commercial type vibe as Link Up by Metro Boomin and Don Toliver off of the Metro Boomin Into the Spider-Verse album. I really just feel like I have this song already. That's what it is. This song does nothing for me. We also got to talk about Skyami with Quality Control Signee, Mango Fu. This is the one song on here that really attempts to play to the pop and rage sound right here. It is a clear rage trap instrumental, and I like the ethereal, uplifting vibe of it, but neither Set or Mango Fu really capitalizes on it and captivates the listener on this track. Offset's wife, Cardi B, has not one, but two features on here. Of course, she was on the single Jealousy, and I love the Memphis influence on the production here with the vocal samples in the background with the drum pattern, and Offset does an excellent job of matching the energy. This is one of the biggest bangers on the album. He is bringing that energy. Cardi B also bringing that energy here. I love her verse. She's talking her shit. And also on Freaky, which is a more raunchy and fun type of banger, a lot more lighthearted, a lot less serious. And I enjoy this track a lot too. I think Cardi is a great performance here as well. Her Freaky refrain, very catchy, I'm not gonna lie. I will say though, neither of these tracks are on the same level of Clout. Clout is honestly an amazing song. People sleep on that, but this is another two pretty fucking great Cardi B and Offset collabs. Jealousy, again, I really like that song. That's a good ass track to come out this year. We also got Broad Day and Princess Cut, which feature Future and Chloe respectively. Neither of these songs really do much for me, right? They're both good songs, and I wouldn't turn them off if they were on, but I would also never go out of my way to listen to them. Broad Day with Future is a little underwhelming for an Offset and Future track, but it does its thing. And Princess Cut actually features a surprisingly great feature performance from Chloe. Her singing and rapping is pretty solid. Her voice is great, of course. I like the exotic instrumental that's at play here a lot, but Offset is kind of just, he gives a middling performance here. And again, this is a good track. It just doesn't stand out as one of the best. And finally, we got to talk about Dope Boy with Young Nudy. I think this is one of the most slept on songs on this album. It is easily one of the hardest, and I love this track. It's very simple. Chorus is very simple. Gets stuck in your head, but it is just an energy track. Offset and Nudie both just go in. It's hard as fuck. It's fire as fuck. It's just a banger. There's not much more I have to say about it. It's just a banger. But on the album as a whole, this is one of the most cinematic and rich trap albums to come out this year. I think this is the trap album that had the most thought and intentionality behind it. Like I said, there is some consistent theming here in terms of what Set's rapping about. There is a consistent atmosphere and world building that brings, of course, this very hard and booming trap sound, but you also get this lingering gloominess throughout the album that creates a very nice mix that I think Offset does well with. And I think it gives him space to play. And like I said, the soundscape is consistent, but you got the hype aux bangers on here. You got more low-key type of bangers. You got more personal tracks from Set. Even songs that have more singing, and they all fit well into this atmosphere, into the moody setting of Set It Off. Like I said, this track list is consistent. There's not many songs that I would consider misses or skips, and none that I would consider to be bad. I do feel that Set It Off didn't quite reach the highs that I may have expected, or maybe that I think that it could have. But this is still a really good, borderline great album to come out this year. I think this did definitely help contribute to the narrative of his consistency. This is another album that is consistently great. He has other albums that are consistently great, and I think it goes to show that Offset deserves some respect as an album artist. Now, yes, I did say this album was just good. Father of Four is an album that I think it was great. I don't think Offset has any, like, top-tier trap albums, right? But I think he could get there, and I think with this album, Offset has solidified his seat as one of the top dogs in the mainstream rap game for at least the next 5 years, right? I mean, he's not on a level of like a Future or a Travis Scott or a Gunna or a Young Thug. But you know who he is on the level of? He is on the level of somebody like a 21 Savage. Actually, 21 Savage is probably above him, but Offset has positioned himself in the echelon of trap rappers right below the Futures and Travises of 21s. He is one of the biggest names in the game right now, and he's proven he's here to stay with Set It Off. I'm feeling a 6.9 out of 10 on this album. Be sure to let me know what you think of Set It Off in the comments. I know this was a super popular album. I've seen a lot of album of the year allegations thrown at it. It's definitely not there. It's not my trap album of the year either, but it's a really fucking good album, guys. I was not disappointed, and there are songs that have strong replay value for me. Let me know in the comments your favorite, and be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share if you've been enjoying the content. I appreciate you guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.